A lot of people want to know when they can retire, but they're also worried about having to go back to work. And we're going to address a question today about that. If you're having second thoughts about stepping away from work altogether, this episode is for you. Welcome in to Dollars with Dennis. I'm Ben George with Dennis Hoare, founder and president of Faith 401k and Money Management. Another good question we're going to discuss today, Dennis, and try to explore with you. And I know you get this one a lot, right? When can I retire? That's the first question people probably want to know.
It is, and I get that question, and I give my first answer is always just a humor answer: is you can retire today if you want to. The bigger question is, when do you have to go back to work? So if you don't know that answer, then that's probably why we need to meet.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. If you have any questions for Dennis, he's been doing this for more than 30 years. He's been in this industry helping out clients. And if you have any questions, 401k.faith is a great place to begin. You'll learn a lot more there. But let me give you the question today, and then we'll get into it a little bit more from there, Dennis. So my neighbor retired 2 years ago and decided he needs to go back to work because money is too tight. I just retired last month and I think we're fine, but now I'm a little worried because the same thing might happen to me. So how can I make sure that I don't have to go back to work? This is probably a pretty common question, right?
It is for sure. So it all comes down to having a plan. So you want to meet with a financial advisor or planner, 5 to 10 years before you retire, so you make a good decision, and a decision that takes out a lot of the what ifs. We can't get a crystal ball, but there's a lot of what ifs in our world that leave a lot of open holes, I guess you could say. And people that have been retired for a few years have been through that, but we don't want to retire and have that fear of going back to work next year or the year after. If you want to, I get more of that too. So people will go do something after they've been retired a few years just because they're not really fulfilling their energy. They have things they want to do, and so they'll go back to work just for the interaction, if nothing else.
Yeah, I think that's part of the discussion you probably have to have, right? To make sure people have a plan and know what they're going to do. So that time, they don't have to fill that time because they get bored by going back to work. But to kind of get into this question a little bit, is there anything you do if someone's feeling this right after they retire, like this person is there anything you can do to kind of assess where you are in those first few months? Is there anything you look at to maybe confirm your position, or is it still a little too early to truly see where you stand?
All the time. So yeah. So in the first few months, I think more importantly, you get the plan done and you revisit it. I'll give you an example of a client that we've gone through the numbers 10 times over 5 years. They can afford to retire. I give them that permission. So now they're working at their own time. And I tell them that having that confidence that you can retire can help you get through a bad day, or you have something goes wrong at work. You can say, well, maybe I don't need to be here any longer. So it gives you some comfort there, but being able to reassess that on a frequent basis. As we have a client coming in on, I think, Monday, that's been retired for a year and a half now, and they want to reassess their goals. Well, that's what we do every time we meet with the client. If we have a plan, we want to reassess those goals and make sure that the numbers work consistently, that they don't have to go back to work if they don't want to. That's got to be a personal decision, but it takes a lot of number crunching to get some confidence in what people are doing. And then there's emergencies, things that come up, right? What are the roadblocks along the way? Any plan can have its faults and its fallacies, but how do we recover and get through those is probably important. And having where money comes from if that happens.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because I would assume that this is one of the reasons why you have an advisor, is because your plans and goals are going to change in retirement. I'm curious, how often does somebody go into retirement, people that you're working with, Dennis, and everything is exactly as planned in terms of what they want to do, how they want to spend their time, and how they want to spend their money?
Yeah, it does. And some of it's a little retroactive. It's when somebody complaining about taxes, and probably we all do. Taxes going up, we get everything paid off, and then property taxes and homeowners and all this stuff is almost what our first house payment was. So it's like that. But it's the other side of it is some people are making more money in retirement than they did when they worked. So the natural evolution in seeing that, and I guess probably if I think about a common problem I see with people is working 30 to 40 years, whatever that time frame is, and then we're living way too long for money to last. So how do you save enough money in 35 years to pay yourself for the next 35 years in retirement? Because it's a reality, and that's a hard thing to do. And having a good solid base, a good solid plan to do that is important for anybody considering retirement. And that's where I would start for sure.
Well, I know a lot of this discussion is also emotional, right? I mean, I think people are going to have that strong feeling either way. Do you see this emotional reaction though from people that have a very solid financial plan, even when they get in their retirement? There's still a little bit of worry and concern.
They are. I liked a lady a few years ago when we went through it. Was worried about what she could do. We go through the numbers, back again one more time, go through the numbers again, and you do that. It looks to me like you can retire. And she just started crying. I was like, wow. So, because she was so excited because she really wanted to be out of her position. So getting that confidence to do that, and that is emotional. So, and it's emotional both ways. So sometimes, and my rule for couples is you cannot retire at the same time. You got to give each other at least 6 months. I mean, you've both been working 40 hours or whatever the number is, and you both retire at the same time. That's a lot of one-on-one FaceTime that you have not had. So we like to have a time to warm up for that one way or the other. If they're both working, stagger those retirements as much as possible. And that's part of the plan.
All right. So let's answer this question before we get out of here then, Dennis. How would you answer this? Somebody said, hey, how can I make sure I don't have to go back to work? How do you answer that question, and what steps can you take?
Have a plan. Live the plan. Update the plan. And follow the advice of your planner. Not easy for people to do, but it's have a plan, live the plan, trust it, update the plan so it stays with you, and then follow the advice of the plan. Sounds way too simple, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot with financial planning, right? It's not brain surgery, but it's hard to be disciplined and stick to the plan, stick to the process that it takes to have that long-term success. That's why it's not easy for a lot of people to do, even though the steps are laid out there for you. But I think this is helpful for anyone that feels this way. And I know a lot of people will feel this way about retirement, just not feeling great about where they stand, or maybe just a little unsettled about the future and just being a little anxious. But if you have questions, reach out to Faith 401k and Money Management. Dennis can help you out. The team there can help you out. Make sure that plan is in place so that you can have that confidence to retire. And again, if you have any questions, start with 401k.faith. You can get all the information there. You can schedule time to meet with Dennis there as well. So thanks for the question. Send us one. Leave us a comment as well if you have one here on YouTube. If you're watching there, and please subscribe to the channel as well. We'd appreciate that support. Another episode of Dollars with Dennis coming up soon. So we'll talk to you then.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.